Today on Dirtnation Offroad, we're going to be going over one of the most important pieces of equipment for any off-roader out there, and that is the Karnage Welder. Let's get started. Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to another episode of Dirtnation Offroad. So today what we're doing is a product review, and we're going to be reviewing one of my favorite pieces of equipment, and that is the Karnage Welder. From the start of this video, I said this is the single most important tool for any off-roader, and in today's video, I'm going to be showing you why. Now, I have an interesting history with this welder. We first saw these pop up back in 2022 at our Rubicon trip. Bob, or Shut Up Bob for short, was the first person to bring one of these out on that trip, and oh boy, did it save our butt. Specifically my butt. We used it quite a bit. And from that trip, I realized that I really needed to pick one of these up. Now, earlier this year, I had actually reached out to Karnage Welder kind of directly, semi-directly. You know, we had commented back and forth. You know, I had talked to them a couple things, you know, here and there. I tagged them on stuff. I had started talking to them about the possibility of picking one of these up, you know, doing a review video for them and doing all that stuff. Well, turns out that also during that time, it was my birthday, and my lady had set up a surprise birthday party for me, and the entire squad went in and purchased a Karnage welder for me, which is the welder that I have right here. Now, interesting enough, this is all happening at the same time. One of them had caught that I commented on one of Karnage Welder's posts saying, hey, I'm going to shoot you an email, try and pick up a welder, we'll talk about some stuff, blah, 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 blah. He ended up reaching out to Karnage Welder directly like, hey, we already bought him a welder. Ghost him, don't talk to him, tell him no, do whatever, just do not engage with him because we already got him a welder and he's getting it in a couple days. So at the party, they surprised me with this welder, and honestly, it was like one of the best birthdays I've ever had. You know, 33 years on this planet, and I gotta say, that is probably the best birthday. Oh, I went to Disneyland when I was 5. That was pretty cool. Anyhow, Karnage ended up throwing in some goodies. I actually have some of them right here. You know, the Karnage Welder shirt. They threw in some of their gloves. I think this is the first set of gloves that they made, or the first one sold, whatever. So they threw those in. They threw in a mask and a couple other goodies. It's like, hey, happy birthday, you know, congrats, yada, yada, yada. So super cool story of how I got this welder. And then since then, we have used this thing quite a bit, which is why it's leading me into making this video. I've wanted to make this video for a while, but I haven't really had the time. Luckily, you know, we're coming to the end of the year and I have a little bit more time to make videos, so we are working on that right now. Moving on. Now, let me make one thing clear, because one thing that I've learned about you online welders is, oh boy, you guys are some keyboard warriors. No hate, but it's just do me a favor. Go look up welding on Facebook and look at all the comments. It is hilarious. You're going to have a good time. Anyways, I say all that to say this. I am not a welder. If you see me doing any welding in this video, understand that I'm not trained. I'm literally kind of just learning this stuff. My lady's a welder. She teaches me some stuff here and there, but I am barely learning. So if I get my terminology wrong, if you see me doing something wrong, hey, if you want to throw a correction out there, I'm always down to learn, but just understand I'm not a welder, not a professional. You know, I think in certain situations, you know, if we're on the trail and we got to fix something, I can definitely get the job done because I understand the basics of welding and I understand the concept of it. I'm just, you know, still learning. Now in this video, we'll take a close look at the welder. We'll talk about some specs, we'll talk about some features, and then we'll go over my experience with it, kind of the different situations that we've used the welder, and kind of some feedback on using it, and, you know, hey, it's a good product, and yada, yada, yada. And then we'll close with like a demonstration. I'll kind of, you know, take it outside. We'll throw some beads on a piece of metal, and we'll show you how it works, because that's really the cool thing about this, is that you can set up so quickly and use it, put it away, and then it's good to go. Taking a look at the welder, it's all built into this case. It's got a handle. This thing is pretty hefty. It's about 40 or 50 pounds, probably about as much as a car battery. You know, it's heavy enough to where, you know, it'll suck lugging it around, but it's not too bad. So keep that in mind. Some quick info: this is a portable battery-powered trail welder. It's wire fed. This is gasless flux core, and it has two options for wire. It's 0.03 and 0.035. Battery has about a 15 to 20 minute runtime. In my experience, that's been pretty consistent. You know, we've you know, most of the time you don't need 20 minutes to do like a trail fix. Most of the time it's usually like about 5 minutes of actually welding. So there's been times where, you know, I've taken this out on one trip, used it, and then go like a whole month, use it on another trip, and it'll still have enough battery. Now, if you do run out of the internal battery, you can run it off car batteries, although you will need 2 of them because this runs off of 24 volts. Then you can charge it a couple different ways. There's a car charger right here on the top, and you can charge it with a car charger, you can charge it with a power station, and then they have an AC outlet, which is kind of like their fast charger that you can use to charge it within a couple hours. And then finally, this comes in at a price of $999, so $1 away from $1,000. I'd say it's worth it 100%. We'll talk more about that, but yeah, it is a hefty price. Now let's crack open the welder. We'll show you how to use it. It's actually very straightforward. There's going to be 2 cables. So you have, first one is going to be your ground, and then you have the other one, which is, I guess, your wand, or what do they call this, your gun. So it is wire fed, so you press the button, then it'll spit it out and do your welding and all that stuff. And then you have a couple things over here. Right here it has 2 switches. So down is to charge, middle is off, and you go up, that will turn on the welder and it is ready to weld. And then you have an indicator right here that'll give you your voltage. So this is currently at 25.7. So once it dips below 24, you'll feel the welder start powering down and getting slow. And at that point, you know, you either need to charge it or you need to hook it up to the Karnage cables to use other batteries to weld. And then right here, you can control wire speed. You have between 1 and 10. And then there's no controls for amperage. The amperage you're looking at between 100 and 150 amps, depending on your wire that you're using and also your wire speed. So it's going to be anywhere in between 1 and 150. Now, as I said previously, you can run this off 2 car batteries. They actually sell what they call the Karnage cables, which are going to be these ones right here. So let me crack these open. I'll show you how these work. I don't know what the style plug is called, but it has one of these. It's kind of like similar to what you'll find on a forklift. So you would plug that in right here on the welder. I'm not going to actually plug it in, but it would plug in like that into place. And then you have 2 negatives and 2 positives, so you can hook it up to 2 car batteries at the same time and run it off of that. So in between the 20 minutes of time plus, 2 other car batteries, I think that'll be plenty to get whatever trail fixes you need done for a day. We've gotten away with using this welder over an entire trip. That first Rubicon trip, I think we used it 3 out of 4 days, and we ran it all off of that single battery. Real quick, I'm just gonna wrap this up real quick and we'll continue. Now, if I were to say anything negative about this welder, it's that sometimes it can be annoying to put away. Although it all fits. Once you kind of get it down, it's good. But, hey, if I had to pick something that I didn't like, it's that sometimes if you don't get the cords just right, it's gonna be a bitch to close. Let's see how I did. I didn't do good. I also did it backwards. So we gotta stuff those cables in right there. There we go. Bada bing. Now let's talk about trail use. And this thing has definitely gotten its fair amount of use in the past year. Now keep in mind, some of this footage and some of the things I'm talking about may not be with this welder, because we have just on but within the Dirtnation crew, I think there's 5 welders. We have a lot of them floating around, because once, we started using bobs and everybody saw how cool these are, everyone started picking them up. And then when I got mine, this is kind of the one that gets used the most, just because I lead trail runs. So usually if we need a welder, I'll just sit there and whip mine out, because I'll have it ready to go, just because I know this is such a terrific tool. Anyways, over the past year, I have used this thing more times than I can count. Just a few examples of the things that we've welded: control arm mounts, leaf spring mounts, leaf springs themselves, steering box mounts, shock mounts, tie rod ends, ball joints, locking hubs, and probably more, but that's just off the top of my head. Even when working at home, this welder is useful, because if you need to tack weld something real quick, or you need to weld up, let's say you need to weld a bolt onto, a strip nut or something like that, this thing is great because you can just whip it out, hook it up, ready to go, rather than rolling out, because I have a welder in the garage, rather than rolling out the welder, you gotta turn on the gas, you gotta hook it up to this, and you gotta do all this other shit. This one's great because you just set it down, open it up, connect your ground, turn it on, bzz, ready to go. In all honesty, this welder gives me peace of mind when I go out rock crawling, because I know that most situations, if you don't have the part, if it's a serious break, we can do something. The welder gives so many different options, right? You think about cars and trucks and rock crawlers and buggies, they're all giant pieces of steel. And to have the ability to now weld pieces of steel together, pieces that break, pieces that you need to put together, this thing, funny enough, somebody, I forgot who said it, but somebody said this is a metal, this is a giant glue gun. And that's how I look at it, right? If you just need to put stuff together, this gives you the ability to do that. And to be able to do that out in the desert, out in the mountains, in situations where you're not going to have the luxuries of your home or a shop, that is really, really nice. I know if there's a serious break, the welder gives us such a good opportunity to be able to fix it. If not, we can at least patch it, get it off the trail, do something. It's just like I said, it is some good peace of mind to have this ready to go in the truck at all times. Having this welder has become such an important part of just the rock crawling and the things that we do here at Dirt Nation Off-Road, which is why this is my favorite piece of equipment, and it is the first thing that I pack. When I get ready for a trip, this is the very first thing I grab. Before we move on, let's do a quick demonstration of the welder. So I have it set up on our little welding table here. I just grabbed a piece of metal. This is an old drive shaft piece that I don't use anymore. This is our ground. We have our wand right here, and then I usually keep some snippers in there, and then I usually keep a wire brush. Let me see if I can find my... Normally you might want to grind down the metal just to clean it off, but this is pretty much already bare steel. I didn't paint this at all, so I'm just gonna clean this up a little bit. Like I said, I'm not a welder. Keep that in mind. So, stick our ground on there. I do have my mask on, so we're good to go there. We're gonna turn the welder on, so switch it up. I got my speed, I usually keep it at 5 or 6. And there we go. And then bada bing, bada boom. Let's lay some beads. So, there we go. Look at that. Because this is flux, you got to clean it off afterwards, but you can see, I mean, for a, regular Joe like myself, it ain't the worst thing in the world. It'll work. There's the welds right there. Good to go. Nothing too crazy, but hey, in a pinch, that will be just fine. Like I said, don't judge my welding skills because they're non-existent. I'll learn someday. We'll get some practice. Most of the time, I usually have a mini welder with me that she can do all the welds that I need to do. But in closing, if you guys do any kind of off-roading where a breakdown is a possibility, this is a product that you should consider adding to your arsenal. If you're somebody that does extreme rock crawling, if you like Johnson Valley, if you like Big Bear Trails, if you want to go to the Rubicon, if you want to go to Fordyce, if you want to go to Sand Hollow and go on, week-long expeditions, and even if you're like an overlander and you go out and, you hit a bunch of trails, you never know what kind of situations you're going to get into. This should be at the top of your list of equipment to buy. This should be something that you consider because it's going to save you in a lot of situations, and it has saved me in so many situations, which is why, like I said, this is the most important tool for any off-roader, and this is my favorite piece of equipment that I currently own. This is a terrific product, and I will say it is 100% worth the $1,000 price tag because you're getting something that is quality, that you will use for years, and that will, like I said, save you in situations where you don't expect it. Now what I'll do is I'll go ahead and link below Karnage and their website. I'll put a link to the Karnage Welder. If you guys end up ordering one for whatever reason, if you watch this video and you're like, hey, I really like this product, I want to order one, make sure in the comment section or make sure in your notes section when you order one from Karnage, let them know that this video, that Dirt Nation sent you, because I'd love to show them that love and I'd love them to see that, hey, we like their product and we are sending people their way. But that's going to be it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Now, if you want to support the things we're doing here at Dirt Nation Off-Road, there's two things you can do. First things first, you can check out our merch store, which is going to be our big cartel. Now, we just launched brand new Hammers t-shirts. One of our guys, Jeeple, he actually made these t-shirts. You can see his logos right there. But this is from the famous sign out in Johnson Valley where you go to Sledgehammer or you can go to Jackhammer. So he made these shirts. We got black ones, we have gray ones, we have small through 3XL. So you can check out the merch store down below to pick one of these up or any of our great merch options. And then you can also check us out on Patreon where you get exclusive access to all things Dirt Nation Off-Road. But that's going to be it for this video. Thank you guys. We'll see you again next time.